Students from Red Cedar Elementary attended the Big Zoo lesson at Potter Park Zoo for one whole week.
From November 4th to November 8th, the third graders studied animals and their habitats. We learned from zookeepers, the zoo veterinarian, docents, Ms. Jill, and our teachers.
We want to say thank you to the East Lansing Educational Foundation and the Red Cedar School Association for their generous grants that paid for this amazing experience. We also want to thank the staff at Potter Park Zoo for teaching us and having us at the zoo for an entire week. Here are some of our favorites.
It's when we went to the rhino encounter because we got to pet the rhino.
My favorite part of the zoo was watching bluebird fly because they fly so beautiful.
My favorite part was the rhino encounter because I got to pet the rhino.
My favorite part of the Big Zoo lesson was when I learned about my animal with my mom. That's because I discovered something new with my mom.
My favorite part of the zoo was the rhino encounter because we got to pet the rhino and we weighed to see how close we were to the rhino.
My favorite part of the zoo was to learn about the animals because I have so much fun from the body mind and because their looks like as where they're funny.
My favorite thing was the penguin encounter and wolf encounter in rhino too. It was fun because we learned all about them.
My favorite part of the zoo was the penguin encounter because the penguins were so cute and because we got to see the nests. And they fight over eggs, so there's rock eggs, pretend rock eggs so they don't fight over the eggs anymore.
My favorite part of the zoo was seeing all the animals act, and my favorite part was seeing my animal, the donkey, every day. My favorite part of the zoo was having a tour because it would give me an idea of what they look like because we might have a special thing on that animal. My favorite part of the zoo was the 1 hour observation where I got to study my animal, the African lion, and also seeing the rhino encounter. My favorite part of the zoo was the rhino encounter because we got to touch the rhino. Also, we learned about the rhino.
My favorite part of the zoo was when I got to touch the rhino at the zoo. My favorite part of the zoo was watching the blue-necked mouse bird because it had a long tail.
My favorite part of the zoo was watching the lemurs observe the pumpkins, and one stuck the pumpkin in its head.
My favorite part of the zoo was the observation because I could learn more about the northern gray shrew, which was my animal.
Part of the zoo was when Africa lion saw me because I think he liked me. My favorite part of the zoo was seeing the river otters cuddling with each other in a log.
My favorite part of the zoo was we got to do the rhino encounter because we got to touch a rhino and my animal is the Amur tiger and I got to sketch the Amur tiger's habitat. My favorite part of the zoo was the rhino encounter because we got to touch the rhino.
Favorite
part of the zoo was
watching
the Arctic fox sleep because it is its
behavior.
My favorite part was the rhino encounter because we got to touch the rhino and we got to see if our class weighed as much as the rhino at the zoo.
My favorite part of the zoo was when we did the rhino encounter because we got to pet the rhino.
My favorite part was when we did the lion encounter.
My favorite part of the big zoo lesson was the rhino encounter because we got to pet the rhino and see how it weighed, and we got to see how much a whole class weighed. My favorite part of the zoo was sharing about my animal because I'm going to be a scientist. My favorite part of the zoo was sharing about my animal because I finally get to be like a scientist and share stuff about the bongo. My favorite part of the zoo was seeing the marangel because I was really surprised about its face. My favorite part of the zoo was the penguin encounter because we got to go behind the scenes and see their nesting boxes and learn about the penguins. My favorite part of the zoo was doing the wolf encounter where Miss Jill threw fish in a bag over the fence because the wolf is my animal. My favorite part of the zoo was watching the river otters swim because they swim upside down and do backflips.
My favorite part of the zoo was observing my animal. I learned a lot, had fun, and had a great time. My favorite part of the zoo was studying my animal laying down on the fence because you can see what it looks like in the guinea hog's fur and looks that it has rocks inside or under his skin.
My favorite part of the zoo was learning about the eagle owl eyes because their eyes is so big.
My favorite part of today was the rhino encounter because you get to touch one live rhino without being hurt.
My favorite part of the zoo was to study my animal and watch it interact with its environment.
My favorite part of the zoo was seeing the snow leopard jump. My favorite part of the zoo was when at the end of my presentation, when the baby mandrill Jabari came up to the glass like always, and I got to take pictures. My favorite part was the rhino encounter because we got to pet the male rhino Jello, and that was exciting because rhinos are my favorite animal.
My favorite part of the zoo was watching the mandrill encounter because to me they were funny and because the baby came up to the glass. It was so cute. My favorite part of the zoo was seeing the Bactrian camel walk around and be active. My favorite part of the zoo was going to the rhino encounter because we petted the rhino.
My favorite part of the zoo was seeing the animal, the river otter, do a backflip because he's not really active when it's full.